spaces.
parking space.
Maybe they're numbered, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, all the way around. A parking lot is a large piece of ground, an area, where people coming, maybe there's a shopping mall here, maybe a park or some place where children play, and they would come in, maybe stop here, get a ticket from the attendant of the parking lot attendant, the person overseeing what goes on in the parking lot, the attendant at the gate. You come in, no, car taken, oh, you're, boom. Pull in, there's your space. The parking lot and the parking space. A space would be a place for one car in the larger lot. Today, this was years ago when you had the big open spaces and they could use them. But you go like to the airport. Today, you may find a large building and you drive up and there's probably no attendant. You press the button, ching, out comes your ticket. The bar opens up and in you go and you drive through looking for a space. And these are the parking lots of today. They're usually 2 or 3 stories high. You drive up, looking. A lot of times at the airport, very crowded, and hard to find a space. But usually there's one someplace. So this is the newer model with the building up, whereas years ago, it was a long, flat surface where you just pulled in and found a space. That is a parking lot and a parking space. Just so you know that. Any questions about that?
There is not enough parking lot in Bangkok.
There's no parking lots in Bangkok?
Not enough. We have many parking lot at the mall.
At the mall?
At the mall.
Yeah, you'll have them
But
obviously
still
at the
not
mall.
enough, right?
Not enough yet.
But they may be open ground like this, or they may be in a building. Like usually at the airport, there's one place where you'll see these upper floors because they don't have the space to go all out.
And also expenses for park.
The what?
And also expenses
Also expensive?
for parking.
Oh, well, at the airport sometimes it can be more expensive than some suburban mall or something like that, yeah. Right. Usually that's more expensive. Okay, just for a few minutes, I want to go over a couple short paragraphs in the newspaper about the situation in Hong Kong. There are some words in here, vocabulary, that might be helpful to you, and also an understanding of what the newspapers are saying about the situation in Hong Kong, which continues. In the Bangkok Post, there's an article, these are the last 2 days. Today's paper is in there, there's another article about it in there today. So every day, there's an article in the Bangkok Post about the situation in Hong Kong. So we'll just, the point of this is to show you certain vocabulary, pronunciation, and an understanding of what the paragraph in the newspaper is talking about.
Good morning, Father Chief.
Something like that.
Something like that.
Okay.
ถูกทีน้ำน้ำ
Good morning.
Good morning, teacher.
Good morning.
เชิญที่ตามสบาย
ไปถึงนั่นก็เลย
นั่งนั่นแหละสังเกต
นั่งนี่เองจะได้มีเพื่อนอันคนแรกไม่เป็นไรหรอก
คนแรกที่นั่งคนแรกนะ
ปู่ทำ
Oh, thanks.
สวัสดีค่ะสวัสดีค่ะ
ก็อธิบายที่เมื่อวานนี้เสร็จถามก่อนนี่Parking space
นี่สมุนไพรบอกมา
ก็ทำเยอะมันก็คือว่าอเมริกา parking lot มันเป็นเปิดตัวเข้ามาที่จอด
การสมุนสมุนจดอาหารกลุ่มกระเป๋าอยู่
ก็เข้าไปได้คือสเปซนี่คือสเปซ
ก็เลยแซงอยู่
แล้วมันน่าออกก็เลยเห็นใจแล้วนี่ก็ไม่เป็นใจหรอกโยมสมอยู่กับพวกนี้30-40 ครั้งจริง
Okay, this was an article in the in the Bangkok Post yesterday that discussed the situation in Hong Kong. And briefly, there are words in here that we have discussed before. Slogan, yield. At St. Paul College, a co-educational school. Co-educational school. Students in blue dresses, obviously the girl students, the young women, dresses also carried posters and shouted 5 key demands, not one less. The slogan of protesters who have refused to yield until their demands are met. Who have refused to yield until their demands are met. 5 key demands, not one less. 5 key demands, not one less. Marching through the streets of Hong Kong, shouting their slogan. 5 key demands, not one less. Remember, a slogan, a short statement or phrase that has meaning to either the people that are screaming it out or as like an advertisement for a certain product, a slogan. So that as soon as you hear it, you know, oh, here come the protesters. 5 key demands, not one less. Hundreds and maybe thousands of people marching through the streets yelling out the same thing. Yikes. So at St. Paul College, a co-educational school, students in blue dresses also carried posters and shouted 5 key demands, not one less. The slogan of protesters who have refused to yield until their demands are met. Okay, go ahead.
At the St. Paul College, a co-education school, students in blue dresses also carried posters and shouted 5 key demands, not one less. The slogan of protesters who have refused to yield until their demands are met.
Right, okay. 5 key demands, not one less. The slogan of protesters who have refused to yield. I will not surrender. We will not give up. We refuse to yield until their demands are met. And the demands are 5 key demands. No extradition, number 1. Police investigation, number 2. Political elections, number 3. And there are a couple more too. But they have 5 key demands and not one less. They want all 5. Ms. Lamb, the chief executive officer, said, okay, no extradition. That was 1. But they say we have 5. So there are 4 to come that we want you to meet, not one less. Okay, go ahead.
At the St. Paul College, a co-educational school, students in blue dresses also carry posters and shout 5 key demands, not one less. The slogan of protesters who have refused to yield until their demands are met.
Right, very good. Also carry posters.
Posters.
Posters. What are posters? I suppose. Yeah, well, you're right. A poster could be a large piece of cardboard, let's say, cardboard, and something written on it. And it could be the slogan. It could be 5 key demands, not one less. The poster with the sign on it, or whatever they happen to write, it could be this: 5 key demands, not one less. Okay, go ahead.
At the St. Paul College, a co-educational school, students in blue dresses also carried posters and shouted 5 key demands, not one less. The slogan of protesters who have refused to yield until their demands are met.
Right, very good. Good job. 5 key demands, not one less. The slogan of protesters who have refused to yield until their demands are met. Okay, go ahead.
At the St. Paul College, a co-education school, students in blue dresses also carry posters and shouted 5 key demands, not one less. The slogan of protesters who have refused to yield until their demands are met.
Yeah, right, very good. 5 key demands, not one less. The slogan. The slogan. The slogan. A short statement about something. In this case, a political statement, a short political statement. 5 key demands, not one less. Okay, go ahead.
Article the sense of co-education school students is voters. There's also carries posters and shouted 5 key demands, not one less. The slogan of protesters will have refused to yield until their demands are met.
Right, very good. Who have refused to yield. Who have refused to give up. We're not stopping until those 5 demands are met. We're not stopping. Every day, slogans, posters, marching. They say they're not going to give up. They're not going to yield until the demands, 5 key demands, are met. Okay.
At the St. Paul College of Educational School, students in blue dresses also carried posters and shouted 5 key demands, not one lead. The slogan of protesters who have refused to yield until their demands are met.
Demands are met. Very good. Also carried posters and shouted 5 key demands, not one less. The slogan of protesters.
Why key?
Okay, go ahead.
At the St. Paul College, a co-educational school, students in blue dresses also carried posters and shouted 5 key demands, not one less. The slogan of protesters who have refused to yield until their demands are met.
Right, very good. Students in blue dresses. Blue dresses. Until their demands are met. So, at St. Paul College in Hong Kong, there is a college in Hong Kong called St. Paul's. A co-educational. What is co-educational? School.
Joy.
Who is joined together?
Between school together.
Who's together? Co-educational. Boys, girls. There are some schools, even today, that are just boys and just girls. But St. Paul College is together. Together educational. Not just girls and over there somewhere boys. No, in the same rooms, in the same school, in the same classes. Boys and girls. For many years in the past, a lot of schools were just boys and just girls, up to a certain level. And this school still is. Well, it's co-educational now with boys and girls in the same class. And in this demonstration that occurred, the girls were wearing blue dresses, the color of the protest. They carried posters, signs that they made themselves probably, or were printed. But anyway, there was something they made themselves, and shouted their slogan, 5 key demands, not one less. So remember when the executive officer, Mrs. Lamb, gave in, surrendered on the extradition. Okay, no extradition, sorry, but that wasn't enough. Too little, too late. So, not one less. The slogan, the shouting words of the protesters who have refused. They will not do it. They will not give in. They will not surrender. They will not stop. They will not yield until their demands are met. And demands are the 5 key demands are met. Once they're met, protests stop. But until then, marching. Are there any questions about this? Pronunciation?
What does demands mean?
Until their demands are met. I demand that if you want to be a student in this class, I demand that you come exactly on time. That's my demand. If you don't come in. Out. Never to be seen again. That is my demand. And in this case, the students have 5 demands that must be met. If we're going to stop the protest, our demands, what we demand of the government must do. We demand it. The 5 key demands must be met. And until they are not met, until they are met, we will march. Demand. To forcefully tell somebody that something must be done. And if they're not done, then we continue to march. Demand it. I demand. Co-educational?
Why key? Why have key? Key is not any meaning?
Yeah. Key, the 5 key demands. In other words, maybe they have, actually, when they think about it, we have 10 demands. But 5 of them are not that important. But 5 of them are the key demands. Key, the main points. The main thing. 5 main demands. 5 most important demands. Key demands. Not just, well, if you don't do it, okay. No. These have to be accomplished. Maybe they have other demands, like clean the streets or make sure the lights work, stuff like that. But they're not key to their protests. The key ones are the 5 that they have demanded of the government, the 5 key demands. Key, most important. This is key to solving the case, the most important thing. Key.
What is not one list?
5 key demands. They have 5 demands, and they are saying, we demand all 5. Not 4, not 3, but 5. Remember, they had the 5 demands, and the chief executive officer, Ms. Lamb, said, okay, all right, okay, no extradition. So therefore, now down to 4. But we are not going to take just one demand. They have to be all 5. Not one less. Not 4, not 3, 5. So they're demanding all 5, not just 1. So, not one less. That's their slogan. Rah, rah, rah. 5 key demands, not 1 less. Slogan of protesters who have refused to give up. Any other questions about the words, the understanding of the words, pronunciation of the words? Educational, A-L at the end, educational. Dresses, posters, demands, slogan, refused, demands.
Demand is requirement. It's a requirement.
Which one? Demands? Yeah.
Demand is supply.
Must be, these must be attained. We must reach these. Otherwise, we're not stopping. These have to be met, our demands. We demand it. You don't do it, we continue to protest. Any other questions about this particular sentence or two? pronunciation. Refused. Blue dresses. Dresses.
Teacher, I want to know the 5 key demands you have a matter important. 5.
What's the question? What do you mean? What do you need?
5 demands have a matter 1, 2, 3, 4, 5.
Right. The protesters have 5 demands that they want to have accomplished. They're protesting. One of the demands was no extradition to China. And the chief executive officer said, okay, no extradition to China. But then they said, wait a minute, the protesters said, wait a minute, that's too little, too late. We have 5 demands. That's only 1 you met. There are 4 more. And they must be met or we continue to protest. They want the police. They want the police investigated by somebody independent to find out that the police were the police violent in their approach to the protesters. They want free elections in Hong Kong. And until these demands are met, we're not stopping, they said. So they met 1 demand, but there are 4 more demands.
Teacher, please. Actually, who is the leadership of the protester?
Leadership?
Yeah.
That's a good question.
Actually.
That's a good question because no one has stood up. I am the leader of the protest. There have been people, young guys actually. One of them is Joshua Wong, who was arrested for the 2nd time last week. And now he's going to the United States. But no one has stepped up. I am the guy. Me. No, nobody. One guy will stand at the airport and say, well, we're doing this because we want freedom for the people of Hong Kong. And you see him, and there he is, he's a young guy, and he disappears. And the next day, there's some place in Bangkok or some other part of Hong Kong, and somebody else, the press comes up and said, what do you have to say? Oh, we're doing this because of the people of Hong Kong deserve justice and democracy. And it's a totally different person. It's not the guy from yesterday at the airport, it's somebody else. So nobody has actually stood up and said, I'm the guy. I'm the guy. No, hasn't happened. Protesters come out, somebody, young guy, will get up with a microphone in the press, will interview him at the airport while they're protesting, and he'll say, well, we're going to do this and do that, and tomorrow we're going to march in Central. And sure enough, the next day there's 1 million people marching in Central. But he's just some guy that got out of the crowd. No one has come forward and said, I am the leader of this movement, and they take all their instructions from me. No. Hasn't happened. Really remarkable in a way. Usually there's always somebody that's the guy. But in this case, there's no guy. It's just whoever happens to take a microphone, and the next day you'll see somebody else. That's a remarkable thing about it. And yet 1 million people are standing in the street. Any other questions on this point? I've got one more. Give a few more points, a few more words. But the key words to take out of this are slogan. Slogan is a word that you hear quite often. Protest, demand, refused, posters. They're carrying posters. You can use a poster for anything. You can advertise the school play with a poster. The school will put on a play Friday night at 8 o'clock, please come. A poster, could be anything. Co-educational,